your camera, it would be a little more easier for sir to communicate as well, if possible, participants. Thank you, sir. Sir, you may continue. Thank you.
All right. So I will try sharing my screen now. Just let me know when you can see it. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, great. Uh, yeah. So thank you. First of all, thanks to Jekyll for inviting me to share my experiences. Something that didn't come out in the kind of introduction, as I also studied at GC Thrissur from 2009 till 2013. So I was basically at the um, just like you, all of you, I was a part of that civil engineering community at GC Thrissur, and we had, let's say, a little more better experience. Not like COVID, we were in the campus enjoying everything around the campus, all the activities. So hopefully, it will come back to that stage. So coming into this presentation, it's titled Research Options in Civil Engineering. So that's basically what I would share is my experience on getting into academia from where you are sitting at the moment to where I am right now. And what I did to get there, and also some of the other paths that you might take. Um, Before going into the presentation, I would just give a brief of the institution that I am at the moment. So that's kind of like an intro into Imperial College. So Imperial College London is one of the top 10 universities in the world, and we are focusing on science, technology, engineering, medicine, and management. We don't have an arts or humanities course. So that's why it goes down the ranking most of the time, because we don't have that kind of faculty with us. So uh, at the moment, we are 11th globally in Times Higher Education rankings. Basically, in QS rankings, we are 8th. Then for research excellence, we are almost first in Europe and UK. And so basically, that's kind of like the landscape of where we are within the world universities. So what I need you to think about is like at your age, I was exactly where you are at the moment. Now, how I came to this university. So if I can, obviously, all of you can, because I was not a brilliant student or anything. I was let's say at an average level or a little bit above average. And the center that I work for is called Center for Systems Engineering and Innovation. So I wanted to talk about this center because you should see civil engineering not just as the core subjects that we are learning in our BTech, but a little bit more wider. Ours is an interdisciplinary kind of branch. So we need to work with mechanical, electrical, cyber physical systems, etc. So that's where my center works on. So the Center for Systems Engineering is thinking about the complexity and resilience in infrastructure systems. So that's like we are concentrating on infrastructure, but almost all the domains, even residential too. So then we are looking at infrastructure life cycle. So not just till construction, we are looking at beyond operations, demolition and reusing of the kind of the buildings or infrastructure that we are creating. So starting with conception all the way till demolition. So we talk about it as cradle to cradle approach, because when you are even conceptualizing a building, we need to think about how we are going to deassemble it and reuse the materials and going into a circular economy. So that's really important at this stage, and um, um, stage in life or of Earth, where we see a lot of problems with emissions and greenhouse gases. And around the world, there's this idea about COP26, which is coming to net zero emissions in all the sectors. Then we think about systems integration. That's basically idea about how all the systems interact. So it's if so we think of a building, then building is within a city, so it interacts with the city, or even inside a building, there's things like we need to think about the electrical system, etc., how they get integrated, how are they talking to each other, how does that work together as one component delivering an outcome. Uh, and the last part is data-driven systems engineering, which I'm part of, is looking at how data or machine learning algorithms or IT systems can actually help achieve all of these, how IT kind of systems support those. Then there are like the ideas to transform construction and also go towards net zero pollution. A couple of like main projects on complexity and resilience, systems integration, systems engineering, restart, reset, and reinvent. That's one of the favorite projects of mine, which is to transform the construction. Then thinking about infrastructure as a life cycle, that's cradle to cradle and carbon neutral to net zero pollution. So, as civil engineering students at this stage, you might need to think about this net zero carbon or emissions in a broader scale, because we are one of the largest contributors of carbon dioxide emissions and in the world. So that's about 39%. Compared to all other industries. So we need to think about new materials, new methods, idea about reuse, recyclability, etc. whenever we are thinking about design. So as young professional, that is really important. So coming into this session, I just wanted to set expectations as to what you will achieve and what you will not. I don't want to give you any false hope. So, what you will get out of this session is on how to enter and navigate academia. Academia is kind of the research and all those associated divisions of kind of a higher education institute. We'll be focusing more on research, on getting into like stable position and research. But what you won't get is research topics, current innovation, hot topics, etc., because that is really a broad scale and it depends on each other's interest. So if I'm going to say as something as a hot topic, that is like the hot topic in my interest area. But it's very difficult to cover everything because civil engineering is a really vast topic. Having said that, I will go into the presentation now. So starting with my journey. So because this is important because I start with the time when I was at GCT. So that was around 2009 to 2013. So 2009, fresh into civil engineering. Then obviously, as I said, I was not uh, the class first or anything like that. So I mean, I used to attend all the classes. That is something I rarely miss classes. So I emphasize that because even if a lecture, even if a class is boring or something, still you will get something out of it. You can't like think about like how it could be useful or something like that. Not at the perspective of exams. That's the second thing that I wanted to say. So I never focused on exams, except for one exam, which was GATE, which no other way we had to crack it. Otherwise, we won't get in. But otherwise, semester exams, internals, it didn't care much for us, basically because we and also like more than exams, I was involved in other activities. So I don't know how many of you might have seen the paintings of Vishwesharaya near Western Eastern Amphi and the Gurukulam, that painting on the near the gallery side. So it was done during our, it was done by Libin, which is a batchmate, and it was painted during university exams for our batch. So that kinds of like shows like how we approached exams in those days. I'm not sure how it is, but the idea is like to learn for yourself and not for exams, and that makes a big difference, especially in the idea of research. So um, the idea of going to higher studies for me started when I did an internship. So in our when I was engineering BTech, we had to do 2 weeks of internship in a company or some place. So most of the batch used to go to Cosford, if I'm not wrong, or some of those companies around uh, in Kerala. So, but what I did was I just wanted to get a flavor of the industry and not replicate what a college life is at an internship. So, me and one of my other friends, Reyes, we did that separately from the class group. So I did an internship in Chennai Metro then with L&T. So that was 2 weeks, but I realized I'm not going to do that kind of a profession because it was too hard for me. Being out in the sun and doing the tasks that are not intellectually challenging. It's more of like instructing and all those management, but at a it's I mean, anybody could do that if they just have a basic idea about surveying and how to interpret drawings. And I wasn't impressed by it, so I decided that I need to do a master's. And the question was what? So this was second year, so I was not exposed to a lot of topics then. The hottest topic then was structural engineering, or and I think fluid mechanics. I'm not sure whether it came in the second or third sem, but we were thinking about those engineering topics, and I was like thinking about options there when I was doing my BTech. Uh, then the engineering went on. It's all the same. So uh, we were introduced to a topic called construction engineering management, which was the least looked after topic in my day in our civil engineering. It was mostly taught by guest lecturers who had no experience in construction. So it was basically looking at like, okay, these are methods you can by heart and reproduce for the exam. These are the important questions in the exam, and that's about it. So I would say it was the least interesting course. But then during my final year, I got an opportunity to present. So um, there was a competition, which was an oral presentation at IIT Madras. It was called, if I'm not wrong, Civil Engineering Marvels or something. So we were asked to present on one or two civil engineering marvels in the world, and me and my friend went as a team into IIT Madras for that presentation. And we just wanted to do our best, and we got the first prize in that presentation. And the faculty at IIT Madras were impressed, and they kind of showed around their labs and the research programs that they have. That was like a turning point for me because in that lab, like both me and my colleague, my friend, we both went into IIT Madras later because of the exposure that we got into labs. My friend went into material science on civil engineering materials and corrosion and all those things. I went into construction management and applications of IT. So that kind of thing. So one of the other things that I would like to tell you is like make use of all opportunities go into this higher education institute, see the labs, see the research that you are going in, and there are a lot of opportunities which I would present later. So having got that exposure around that time, I have written GATE. I've got a reasonably good score. So I had two opportunities: either go into MTech in water resources and management at IIT Bombay, or MS program at IIT Madras in building technology and construction management. And the choice was simple. It was not simple at the time because like MS, unlike MTech, is an unstructured program. So MTech, you could actually go in and if you do reasonably well, you will get out in 2 years. Because it's a structured, it's 3 semesters, you have courses and 1 semester of project, and maximum extension on the project is 2 months, if I'm not wrong. Whereas MS during our time was not bounded. So you have like first semester of courses, then there are like 3 to 6 to 8 semesters of project alone. So it depends on how much good you are at doing the project, how much you are at delivering the project, etc. So it was a relative disadvantage when you're looking at the family. They're telling, okay, this is going to be risky because you are not going to graduate like everybody else or something. And even as an MS student, it's difficult because like those who joined with you at MTech has graduated and went into jobs, but you are still in the institution doing the stuff. So yeah, but for me it was kind of obvious to take uh, the masters. So I'm not sure why my computer is doing this. Um, yeah, so after my BTech, I went into IIT Madras, and what I was doing as a research combining automation, wireless sensors technologies, and machine learning to predict construction progress of construction activities. So it was a long research. So my program was 2.5. So from the start to the submission of my thesis, it was 2.5 years. Then it took 8 months for my thesis to get valued because it was sent to the director of IIT Roorkee, who didn't have enough time. So I had to wait for my thesis to come back for my next program. And then during that time, I was actually applying for PhDs because I wanted to continue my research. And I applied to different universities, and the application process itself is long, which I would talk about later. And what happened is, like, I got into Imperial College after many rejections at other universities which are not as highly ranked as Imperial, let's say. And I see now Shija ma'am has just joined, and she was one of my references for my application to Imperial College. So she gave me a good reference. So yeah, so that was IIT Madras. So it was mainly MS by research. Um, then I went into Imperial College. So at Imperial College, I was again working on problems in construction management, looking at how IT technologies again can help improve productivity in construction. So I was working with some of the major projects in London and around the world. So I was working with Nagpur Metro in India, Crossrail in London, um, Building Construction Academy in Singapore, and also a metro. It's called Helsinki Metro in Finland. So, and also with the Alan Turing Institute, which is the National Data Science Institute of UK, to kind of look at how we can improve construction productivity using the kind of artificial intelligence and IT applications. Going forward, after my PhD, which was almost the same time as my MS, I would say, like if you look from like start to end, because it took 3.5 years, which was a little bit fast track. That is something that I should say, because I did my MS, I could do my PhD faster. So in the end, I didn't lose much of time. So if I had taken an MTech, I would what I would see is like generally a PhD lasting 4 to 5 years at least. In the UK or European system, or if it is an American system, it would be even more. But because I got enough research experience as an MS student, my PhD was cut short to 3.5 years from the start to the end. That's like the joining the college all the way till submission of thesis. So that those are the some of the things that you should consider. So on the outlook, if I had taken an MTech, I might have saved 1 year there, but taking MS, I saved like more time in when I'm doing a PhD. Then currently, I'm working as a postdoctoral research associate, again with Imperial College and Alan Turing Institute. And my next plan is in the next month or the month after, I'm moving to Switzerland to ETH Zurich, which is again one of the top 10 universities. And I really wanted to work in a lab over there, and I've been trying to get into that lab. Uh, Following up on the research there, working on looking at the opportunities, submitting proposals for funding, and recently one of my proposal got funded, so I will be moving there soon. So that's how what my journey as a student was, from where you are today all the way till where I'm today. So next, I would ask you to do a simple exercise, because before getting into the higher research option, I just want to get an outlook on like what you know about research scholars. So if you could go into your phone or computer or whatever, go into this particular idea about like just type in menti.com, and you would come to a screen where you could enter a password or a code. So that is 30358427. Then you could actually answer this question, and we all could see the answers together in the screen. So if one of you could, not one, if all of you could do that, it would be great. But at least some of you should do it. So just go on to menti.com, and they would ask you to put a code. So the code is 30358427. Then there would be a question, exactly the question on your screen, and you could type in the answers and click submit. And just keep that window open, because we have like a couple more questions. So you just have to refresh every time. So just to get an idea, so I'll just wait for like, let's say 30 seconds, 40 seconds before I get the information here. So I can see one of the someone has actually given um, some input. The code is 30358427. It's on the top of the slide. 30358427. Yep, just going on through the um, words that are coming up. So developing new ideas, that is right. It might not be new ideas. It could be anything, new technologies, etc. Solving problems, novel ideas, right? Evaluation, observe. Yeah, these are let's say qualities of a research scholar, which would be our next question. Try to get more knowledge, ensure quality. Yeah. Mm. So these might not necessarily be the duties, but these are like part of the duties, I would say. So some of the first things like research, doing research, yes, supervision, yes, those are the duties, and solving problems, productivity, reporting novel ideas, try to get more knowledge, ideas, learning. Yes, so these are the, what do you say, um, some of the things. So I think you get the idea of like what entails being a research scholar. And if I go to the um, so just moving to the next slide. So yeah, yeah. So basically, the duties of a research scholar, if you're looking at it from a perspective of like a PI, project investigator, or from the university perspective, is first and foremost to perform high quality research. The second is to document and publish the research findings. So the publications has a big value in your forward career. Then once you get the results, you need to attend and present those research at the conferences. So we are disseminating to a wider crowd. Then you would need to actually teach classes and assist in development of modules. So you would be teaching classes for undergrads, master's level, etc. when you're a PhD, to undergrads when you're a master's level. Then you would need to supervise masters and undergrad students. So you need to kind of like share your knowledge, guide them. So you're basically training to be an academic. So you need to get that skills and bid for research funding. So that is like you write proposals to different funding agencies based on your research ideas. Tell them why this particular thing is important, what you're going to do if you get the money, and actually get the money into the university. Then you need to think about networking. That is like you need to network with the academics who are doing work around in the same area, and kind of understand their work, how it relates to your work, how you can collaborate, how you could use their funding, or how they could use your uh, research ideas, etc. Have joint collaborations and coming out. So it's basically being part of the community. And finally, publicize the research. So use all the medias like social media or whatever to actually publish the research. So these are the expectations from a university or basically a PI when you are a research scholar. And basically, you need to kind of look at juggling the balance between all of those and your personal life during a research scholar. That's why like everybody says like PhD stuff, because when they enter the PhD, they just think that they need to do research and nothing else. And research itself is hard, but we have a lot of things at the side that you need to look at. Now, going on to the next question again, if you refresh the page on Mentimeter, you could think about like qualities of a research scholar. Some of the things that came in the previous slide is mainly the qualities of a research scholar, but what I was expecting is kind of duties. So if you could just put on the qualities of a research scholar, that would be great. Honest, that's really important. Um, so you need to be honest, you need to have integrity, you need to follow all the research ethics. You cannot and absolutely not present fake results. Um, you cannot present results that are not fake but not obtained through a proper research methodology. Accurate, yes. Need to be focused, dedication, really important. Open to correction, yes. Open mindedness is required. Persistence, that's again because you're going to fail a lot before you get the first proper result. Intelligent, yes. Diligent, yep. These are all good things that's coming out of you. So I think you have a great idea about like what it takes to be a researcher. Thirst in knowledge, that's the most important. Um, Conscientiousness, yes. Yep. So just to the keep up with the time, we could go into the next slide. So if you look at the qualities of a research scholar, the first and foremost thing that I would say is enthusiasm and passion, because you need to be really passionate about what you're doing because you're going to fail a lot. So if you want to not quit, you need to be passionate and enthusiastic about what you're actually doing. Then you need to have intellectual curiosity. So whatever you're doing, you need to think about like, why is it happening? What is happening, etc. So generally during our BTech or MTech in the prescriptive courses, we are taught something in a text and we are not actually questioning it. You do not, you take it as a given that it is right. But whereas in research, every sentence that you read, you question it. So whenever you are reading a research paper, you are going to question, okay, is this really correct? Or did they get it wrong? So that kind of an idea, or why did they get it correct? Those things are really important. The next thing is critical thinking and analytical mind. So this critical thinking and analytical mind is what enables that kind of idea of questioning whatever you're seeing. Then you need to be self-motivated. There's nobody to push you. So whether your PhD takes 3.5 years or 8 years is completely dependent on your self-motivation. Persistence and commitment, again, that's really important because you're going to fail a lot. So I haven't seen any one research scholar who has got one experiment right when he did the first time, because these are new experiments. Nobody has done it before, or people have done it a little bit differently for their objectives, but it is different for you. So you will fail a lot. And that failure is like, it could take like weeks. And sometimes there would be other factors. For instance, my friend was doing a research on corrosion, and his experiment was like a 6 month long experiment. And at around the end of this 6 months, the corona hit, and he couldn't go into lab, could not take his 6 months reading. So he had to repeat that 6 months experiment again. So all of those things, if you want to like pursue that, you need that persistence and commitment. Otherwise, you would just quit. Time management, as you might have seen, there's like a lot of things to do as a research scholar, and you need to manage your time to do the research and affiliated things. You need to be part of a team because some of the projects are really big, and you need to work with other teammates to achieve it. Excellent written and verbal communication. So as I said, like publication is a big part of a research process. So you need to have good writing skills to publish papers in good journals and also present at conferences. And finally, but not the least, integrity and research ethics, because you cannot publish something that is wrong. And even from higher education institute like uh, IITs, we can see a lot of pseudoscience coming up recently in the time of COVID, and that is just not permitted in the research world. So, coming into the main topic of today, what are the steps towards research that you know of? So, quickly, if you could just key in what you know of, then we will go through it together. What are the next steps from where you are at the moment? So, wait like 30 to 40 seconds. You're finding the interesting field, that is the best and the main thing that you need. Problem statement, you would probably develop it once you are in that group because it's dependent on um, what it is about. Exploring interest, right? But I would expect a little more about what can you do? Like, what are the next steps as in what are the options available for you? Where should you apply, etc. Gate, yes. All right. In the interest of time, I will just move on. Um, but these are kind of like what we are looking at. So what are your options? So basically, I created like a chart like this to understand. So basically, it starts with what you can do now as research and after BTech. So now, basically, the first thing that you could look at if you are like a second year or a third year student is looking at paid summer fellowships that are offered by IITs. So what you would essentially do is work in a lab for 2 or 3 months, get a flavor of research, understand what research is about, and come back. So those are like the paid ones, but similar unpaid internships are also there. So what you need to do for that is look at the area of interest, like some of you have suggested earlier. Once you get the area of interest, then uh, you actually try to get like who's working in that in India and try to email them stating your interest for internship or if there are any summer fellowships or paid programs within their uh, lab. So these are the things that you could do while you are a BTech student. Also, something that I would tell a bit later is how to develop your CV. So that's also something that you need to do. But these are just the options. Then after BTech, you could either go for higher education or look at like industry or work as a project associate in a lab. So you can do research there. Um, so in when you're looking at higher education, you could look at India or abroad. And even in industry, you could look at like research associate positions or R&D developers. But after BTech, it's really hard to get into such positions unless you have some research experience as a in a good institution. So if you're going into MTech, higher education in India, it's basically through MTech or MS. So you need to write GATE for that. And for abroad, it's basically GRE or equivalent exams. And MS is again a research-based thing. Or then there's another option just after the BTech, if you have good scores, is a direct PhD. So IITs offer direct PhDs, even like some of the institutions abroad, like NUS and NTU, they offer direct PhD. So you have to write GRE and equivalent. But when you're doing this route, is they look for some research experiences from before. So that's where some of these things come into picture. Summer fellowships or working as a project associate. So I've seen people who are just out of BTech just work for 6 months in IITs with not much of salary, but just getting that research experience, getting a publication, and then they start applying for direct PhDs abroad. So since they have the research experience, they're much better chance of getting in. And in India, you need to write GATE. So you could go for MS or MTech. Again, MTech is a 3 semesters of coursework and 1 semester of project. MS is more like 1 semester of coursework and more of project. So you have better chances of getting publications here than here in MTech because a publication takes like from submission to publishing, it takes 6 months to a year. So you need that time with you to actually do it. So what some people do is like after MTech, they will go and work in industry or work in the same lab and then get the publication, then apply for PhD from abroad. But some people after MTech or MS do a straight PhD from India itself. So in MS, there is a program to convert MS into PhD. So they would be somewhere in the status of like something like a direct PhD. And similarly, um, if you're going to apply abroad, it's basically you need to have a good research background, you need to have good scores, you need to have some publication if they want to accept you as a direct PhD or even as a PhD after master's. So they need to see like you have that research potential to perform research, deliver outcomes, and do all the activities that I've shown before. So if you have some teaching experience by teaching some of the Teach for India or something like I Will India for Villages, etc., that is actually beneficial. So that's what developing a CV is all about. So then once you get a PhD, then you could either go into academia route, that's like a postdoc, assistant professor, professor, etc., or you could go into research positions in the industry. So that's the diagram which I could share with you after the presentation. Um, so you could do something during the BTech or after the BTech, you could follow these routes and you could get into the research in India or abroad. And this diagram is not what do you say, a holistic diagram or an exhaustive diagram. So there could be more options, but these are like generally the most common options that you could see in the research world. So research is about publishing, teaching, getting new knowledge, and all of those things. And the routes are through either through higher education, like MTech MS programs, which are the master's level program, or directly to a PhD. But for both of it, you need to demonstrate some kind of a research experience. Now, what should you do now if you wanted to be in this space? That's the most important thing that you might have to think about right now. The first thing is build a strong CV. So, in a strong CV, you need to have a good academic score. I'm not telling you need to be in the top of the class or something, uh, but you need to show some kind of dedication to academics because they need to understand that you're passionate about learning. It's not cracking exams, but just passionate about learning. And the CV should reflect evidences of qualities of a good researchers that I've mentioned earlier. So if you have done research or if you have done community service, all of those things should be there in your CV and it should be evident. So if you have taught, you need to see like where you have taught, not just I'm interested in teaching. You need to have leadership skills because you might be leading a project. So if you have opportunities like in my day, I used to be part of Graffiti, Ideator, etc. So we established Ideator during our batch. So that came into my CV because it was kind of like we wanted to do research or something out of academia in our passionate sense. So we developed that one. Then get involved in research activities. That's like Ideator or some of those things. I don't know what the clubs in GCT are right now, but get involved in this. So what I'm telling is like if you're just sitting and learning for exams, there is less chance of you getting into research later in a good institute because they look at everything, not just thing. Attend conferences and network with academics. So these days it's easy because everything is online and a lot of options. So you need to try to get into conferences or even attend it virtually. Most of it are paid, but there are like a lot of unpaid ones also. So try to learn about the latest work in the area of interest. Try to publish in conferences. So it's not, I mean, it might be a bit scary at first, but it's not that difficult to publish in conferences. So try your luck. So what it gives you is like an experience of writing, what they need, what the process is, etc. The second is identify your area of interest. So that is most important because once you have a strong CV, what you're going to look at is like which labs you will be working in. So once you have a say, like area of interest, look at like what are the best things that are going on in that area. Read the latest literature. So most of the literature are now available online, even though there is a paywall behind it. Some of these things like our archives, our RXIVs, they have preprints which are almost the same as the published papers, but you can access it for free. Then ResearchGate has a lot of things. So you read the latest researcher, identify institutions which does research in area of interest. So when you start reading the literature, you will understand which groups are doing research. Then inquire about opportunities with professors. So you actually email them, ask if there are opportunities. I wanted to do a PhD or I wanted to do an internship with you. Are there any opportunities, and get into places. Then you try to publish out of that research that you're doing. That would give you like a grounding, and then you can apply for MS programs abroad or PhD programs abroad. So if you're applying abroad, first of all, you need to be sure about which exams to take. So GRE and TOEFL are mostly US exams. IELTS is for UK, GMAT for some other universities. So try to know which exams that you have to take. So basically that professor who you are applying to will tell you about it. Start the application process. So it's not like a 1 month application process. So most of the PhDs and MS programs, it takes a long time. So start it early, at least give it a year for application. Statement of purpose. So statement of purpose is a document that you have to submit with almost every application, where you say why you want to do this course, what you've done in the past to do this, develop that interest, your personal statement, the whole thing. So there are a lot of resources on internet to do it, but don't copy any of it because they can easily identify plagiarism. You shouldn't plagiarize anywhere, especially in your SOP. Then look at the professor's profile. So once you have understood the professor's profile, you need to look like whether he's the right person, whether he's publishing a lot, whether he has good citation, whether he has good collaboration, um, whether he's a good person to work with. You can contact people at his lab. It's really easy these days to understand what it is. Then look at the college ranking. College ranking is not that important, but it's also important because most of the funding and kind of like things are easier to get for better college ranking. Look at the scholarships for that particular college or the professor that you're looking at. Follow the work of the lab. So uh, whenever you are interested in a lab, follow that professor and follow the work of the lab so you get more acquainted. I will tell you why that is important later. Then email professor stating your interest to join the group. And while you're doing it, so just a minute. This shouldn't happen. Yeah. So when you're doing an email to a professor, first of all, introduce yourself, who you are, why you are applying, etc. Then why state why you want to work in their lab. So you have already followed their work and stuff, and you know the interest. So tell them like why you want to work in the lab, what publications of theirs had sparked interest in you, and tell like your critical analysis of their article or articles of the work. It is in this critical analysis that they would understand that you are really interested. So talk about like what did you like, what is confusing, what are the possibilities, etc. Then state the work you have done in the area, like your past work if you have done anything, and close with asking for potential opportunities. So this is how you generally email a professor. So these are some tips, but never ever send you might have already seen, never ever send generic emails to professors. So if you have an email, don't ever copy that email and send to other professors, because we get a lot of emails and we really understand when people are sending generic emails rather than looking at our work. So you won't get a reply if you are sending a generic email. But if you have critically analyzed their work, there's like 99% of probability that you get a reply. And also whenever there are like things that you have like a bit of um, students of the professors, you could email them also to understand where there are opportunities. Now, I talked about following the professors, etc. So how can you do that? So one of the things is ResearchGate, other is LinkedIn, Google Scholar, Web of Science, Twitter, YouTube. So I'll just show you um, what is there. So if you look into ResearchGate is a platform you could sign up to. It's all about research. So you will have like people, just like Facebook or Instagram, but about research. So they publish and stuff. They follow. They publish it here. There would be preprints. So most of the full text of the journal articles will be here, even though there is a paywall behind when you're not doing. You could follow researchers. For instance, all of these people are like who I have followed based on my research interest. Then there would be advertisement for PhDs, etc. that is coming up here. And you could follow a particular publication if you want, like who is citing it, etc. And you could see like co-author networks. So if a professor is working, so you could see like which lab I'm working in. So if you go to Jennifer's profile, you could see my thing, who I am following, who my followers are, just to expand your idea about who's working in, who are the top co-authors of that particular researcher. So basically that gives like idea about like who else is working in that area. uh, you could go to YouTube. So most of the conferences now have YouTube channels, so you could see the latest work without even attending the conference to understand what is happening. uh, the labs, they have like YouTube channels telling, giving their latest presentation, some of their classes, etc. So if you look at the videos or playlists, you could see the classes, etc. here. Um, LinkedIn, so you could follow the professors in LinkedIn. So they post their activities over there. They would also, the labs or the professors also will have like Twitter accounts. So they have all their work and latest work published on Twitter. So you could follow that to understand what's happening. So these are a couple of things, a couple of Twitter accounts that we have that I follow. Yep. So then we talked about how to follow labs. Then once you are in the research or academic world, how do you build your profile? So first is delivering the project. So you deliver the research for whatever you're funded, you publish out of it, you do enough networking to have collaborations or do more research, get more funding. So you apply for funding, get it, then you do a bit of teaching. So teaching that teaching part in your CV is important. Then you lead projects or write lead proposals. Then you kind of do all this Twitter, ResearchGate, LinkedIn stuff to publicize your research. So once you do that, you will be more known and get better out of your CV. Your CV grows by doing these activities. So finally, what I would tell you is to educate yourself. So whenever you are, there are a lot of options for you right now to be part of like the higher education community, even without being in the top institutes, because every other institute has one or the other open platforms to help you learn, and other sources also like YouTube, LinkedIn, Google, that will help you um, gain whatever the experience that is required to go into the higher research options. Time for questions. I know I'm a bit over time, but if you have some questions, I would be happy to answer. I have time left after this meeting.
Yeah, it's open for discussions. Students can ask questions.
So questions needn't be from the presentation alone, but some of the queries that you have about higher education, especially in the research domain on any aspect that might be, I mean, I'm happy to answer those.
Yes, sir. I do have a question. Was your plan for going ahead with higher education as in MTech or going for a PhD after that, was it already set, or did you have more options in mind that you would want to pursue besides the current path that you've chosen?
Not necessarily. So I did have two jobs out of my BTech. So I was there in the placements looking at the position, but basically none of it was really interesting. And I didn't want to go into a construction site, let's say, because of my experience from internship. So uh, there were like multiple paths. So one of it was the higher education, one was industry, but I didn't look into other paths such as like um, MBA, because for some reason I wasn't that interested in that kind of a world. So it all depends on your interest. So I wanted to be in engineering world. Uh, and I was looking at the best. I was choosing from the best option at that particular point. So I had options from L&T. I had a job at Oracle, and then there was this one MTech and one MS at the end of my BTech. So I didn't repeat for gate. So this was just out of the BTech. I had these four options. So I chose MS because I really like that research environment. And once I got into the MS, I could see like the different paths forward. Again, some of my friends. So one of the friend I talked about who went into MS and then into material world. She's working for a company in Sweden now. So she took industry path afterwards. But like I took the research path. So always there's like different options. And I mean, I didn't have a long set path, but I just had a bare idea about what it is, and then we take decisions as we approach. So if I had got a really good job, which I'm interested in after my MS, I might have taken it. Even now, I'm looking at the postdoc, but I'm also applying to some of the industry jobs because some of it are really interested. So if I get one of those, I might move to the industry, but otherwise, I will follow this academic career.
Right.
So the idea is like whatever you are happy to, whatever makes your life easier, something that keeps you motivated, and just give you enough financial support for leading the life that you want to lead.
There are some questions in the chat box.
Okay.
Karthik, can you read for them?
Yeah, yes, sir, yes, I was about to. There's this question from Felix. His question is, was your decision supported by others, like family, to leave your job and pursue academics, for that matter?
Yeah, so basically, I didn't have much of a problem from the family. So the most of the resistance I had was when I was choosing an MTech instead of an MS because they weren't happy because it was not time bound or something. So I had to do that. And luckily, and it is a privilege for me because I didn't have to support my family financially just after my BTech, which is a big thing. So I could live with my stipend, which was like 8,000 rupees a month. So I can proudly say that I didn't get any money from my family after my engineering. So after my BTech, I haven't asked money to my family, but I didn't also have to support them. So during the first stage of my MTech or MS, I could live with a stipend, but I doesn't have to support. But some of my other friends who were not as privileged as I am, took up a job despite being really intelligent just because they had to support the family. So that's always a, but most of those friends, after doing a couple of years in the industry, getting to a good level, they did apply and went for higher studies. Uh, I could see, yeah. So that's the answer. So academics, you still get money. So in my current stage, during my PhD, when I was doing it abroad, I had as much salary, if not more, of other people who's in the industry who went directly into the industry. So it's the first 2 years that's a problem. Afterwards, you will get a good salary, uh, and also like your salary after you enter the industry would be more than the normal path. So that's
Right.
that's that. So I mean, it was partly my privilege, but partly my choice, which led this.
Right, sir. We have one more question. It's from Anju. The question is,
Mhm.
sir, can we go for studying aeronautical or related science after completing our BTech in civil engineering? Or will it
Uh,
be a complete failure?
Not necessarily. So it depends. IIT Madras, which I was part of, I know they have interdisciplinary programs. So it's like between departments, or even when they're selecting for MS or PhD, they just don't select from mechanical engineering or aeronautical engineering. They select from a range of subjects. So I have a friend who did civil engineering, then he went into aeronautical engineering because he was really fascinated with fluid mechanics and stuff. And they went into um, avionics, if I'm not wrong, in aeronautical engineering for his research as an MS. And he's now in Heidelberg doing his PhD again in aeronautical. So there are a lot of like think about it like this. So civil engineering, electrical, mechanical, those core subjects, we have a lot of potential to switch to other branches. So even in civil engineering, the structural engineering people, they go into material science or mechanical based subjects. They go into stabilities and aeronautics. I, as a part, like my MS and PhD is like partly in our computer science. So in both my MS and my PhD, one of my supervisor was from Department of Computer Science. So I did an interdisciplinary thing. So it won't be a completely failure. But the thing is, like, you need to know like what part you're strong at, and you should be willing to learn, adapt. So it wouldn't be as easy as like directly going into the same thing, because there would be a lot of learning that you haven't got. So if you are willing to do that, I think it would be fine.
Are there any more questions? So there is a question. Do foreign universities select students for the same?
Yes, actually. So it's a bit difficult, because like for what foreign universities look for is that research experience. So if you are a civil engineer, you have some, let's say you wanted to do aeronautical. So basically, you need to look at the university's course list or PhD list and eligibility. So there will be like multiple departments in this, so, listed in those, and you need to see whether civil engineering is there or not. If not, that's not like a stopping point. Then what you need to do is like get some research experience in the domain that you want to work in at IITs or something, working with professors. And once you have that research experience, then you apply again. There is a chance that you would be selected. So it all depends on your profile, your statement of purpose, and your kind of research experience. So if in the statement of purpose you clearly state why you want to do aeronautical engineering after you studied civil engineering, they would understand why you're applying, and basically you get it. But the problem is like when you are applying for, let's say, if you are a civil engineering and you are going to apply for a completely unrelated field like photonics, you might not get in, because they can't assess like where you're going wrong, like what you have or something. But if it is the other way around, if there is some relation with what you've studied into others, you will get it.
So we have one more question if time permits.
Mhm.
How easy is it to get full scholarships for higher education, higher studies abroad?
It's not easy at all. So it's really difficult. For instance, uh, for every positions that you are applying to, there would be a lot of people applying to it. So it's competition is really high to get funded position. So what you need to do is make yourself better than the other people. So as I said, build your CV, have some publication, have some research experience, and that would give you an edge. So uh, everybody who I've known who have got a scholarship has got a really good profile. They built it, even for masters and for PhD. Um, so it's really difficult. So there are like very little scholarship for Indian students in uh, universities abroad. So if you're looking at a really good university, it's really tough to get into that space, but it's not impossible. So all you have to do is like persistence. So you need to keep applying, keep building your profile, and at some point. So for me, I haven't paid a single penny for my courses after my BTech. So I was funded throughout, but I wouldn't say that particular thing is easy. So that is where all this network and contacts help. So you contact a professor, they will guide you to funding sources for that particular source for the thing. Then you write to that particular funding agency expressing your interest. They will ask for references. So the professor you are applying to, your previous teachers, they should give you a reference. And with that, they will evaluate your CV and references and your research interest, and then they will fund it. So it's not easy, but it's not impossible. And you could, I mean, easiest part is to get advertised positions. So if you go into ResearchGate or something, there would be advertised positions. So those are the ones which are a bit easier to get because the funding is already there. It's at the discretion of the professor to give it to you or whoever is applying. So the network plus that kind of like, um, what do you say, advertised position might help. For doing MS abroad, you don't need research experience per se, but research experience would actually help. Uh, because they're looking at people with capabilities. So whenever there are like one or the other way to prove that you have some kind of like a um, interest in the subject with through research or something, that would actually help. But not necessary. All you have to do for US universities, it's more about this GRE score, SOP, and your grades. Research is like, uh, what do you say? Secondary. But what happens if you have a research experience is like when you go into universities, even though if it is unfunded, so you will pay the first semester fees. From the second semester, you would be like interacting with the professors there. They would have like some research work because you have some research experience. You would be they would take you as like a TA or an research assistant, and you can get like generous payments for the research assistant contribution, with which you can fund your personal life as well as fund your fees. So it helps, but it is not a mandatory requirement. So research while doing BTech, I don't know if there are mini projects anymore. So mini projects is the first way to get into research. Then your main project, if you could like work with a real problem for your main project, that can be published in a conference and stuff. Then again, as I told, that summer fellowships and internship at uh, um, what do you say, big universities or bigger universities, that would help. Then if there are consultancy projects within GEC, for instance, with some of the professors, you could work with them, publish the finding, be part of the publications. So those are the ways you could do it at the moment. If you are into information technology world, you could do research by yourself. There are enough and more resources in GitHub and Stack Overflow and all those with which you can actually do it yourself. Yeah, so selecting the topic, it's basically your interest. It should be something of your interest. So, and guidance, there are lot of opportunities. For instance, ResearchGate, you can ask questions to anybody in the world. So you just post the questions and people around the world answer those questions for you. And they are incentivized by that because their ResearchGate score gets increased, their profile gets visibility. So during my MS, I used to rely on ResearchGate a lot because some of the work that I've been doing, my professors didn't have experience, so they did it. I mean, I got a lot of input from ResearchGate, etc., to do the research part. So that is one way. Then you could, if you have doubts, you could email like the people who are doing that kind of work. They will help you. So it's all about that networking and persistence for guidance. While applying, should references we are using be personally known to Professor abroad? Not necessarily. The references need not be known to the professor abroad, but it would be good if that particular reference is known in some of the other way, like they have a good profile or something like that. Uh, Most of all, what they look at is whether the reference you're supplying, do they know you well? So if you are applying, then that particular teacher who is or a professor who is giving you the reference, they should know you well. They should be able to write your skills properly, etc. So that's what they're looking. So as I said, like one of my references was Naushija ma'am. So I did my seminar with her, so she knew me well. So she gave me one of my references. So that's then other my guide at IIT, he gave a reference. So it was more like that. So I did like one from undergrad, one from my master's and one from my other connections. Can we do research collaboration with other universities? Yes. So one thing that I missed is like even when you are doing research in India, there are like joint PhD programs where you will be working with other universities abroad, and even in within India, there are like research collaborations. So that depends on your university, like the GCT and other particular universities around. So I know that there are a couple of like universities like uh, I know Anna University, Congo, etc. They have like association with IIT Madras, so you could actually take a lead in establishing a connection with IIT Palakkad, for instance, or NIT Calicut, share their lab facilities, etc., and do research like that. So it all depends on the arrangement between the university and other university, or on your personal connection. So during our time from IIT Madras, there was a professor called Radhakrishna G. Pillai who used to come and give talks. So he was really encouraging of taking students to IIT Madras, to giving summer fellowship and establishing up research. My main project, my BTech final project. So there was a GCT alumni who was working as a PhD researcher in IIT Delhi, working on cable stay bridges. So I had a lot of guidance from him during my main project. So it can be personal level, or it could be kind of like with other universities. So whenever he was publishing a paper, he asked me whether I want to be a co-author because I had contributed and stuff. So that is another way that you maintain collaboration with other universities. Any more questions?
So I think that's the end of our question and answer session. Jigal sir.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you,
Uh,
Ranjit. Thanks a lot for readily accepting the invitation for this talk. And you gave a very well organized and informative lecture or talk to the students. I'm sure that all the students are benefited from this talk. So I already shared your personal webpage link to the students so that they can email to you. Is it okay for some
yeah,
specific
email is okay.
queries?
Just because the personal web pages, it might get old. So it would be easier to get connected on LinkedIn per se, or uh, LinkedIn or ResearchGate or something. So those kind of things are constant. Even if I'm moving universities, the email doesn't change.
Okay, okay, fine. So students can message or connect with him in LinkedIn as well as ResearchGate. And thanks a lot on the behalf of Department of Civil Engineering. Over to you, Karthik,
Mhm.
for the vote of thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Karthik. I take this opportunity to wholeheartedly thank Dr. Ranjit sir for taking time out from his busy work schedule to be a part of the C2C Alumni Talk series hosted by the Civil Engineering Department of GEC Thrissur. I'm sure that our understanding on civil engineering as a subject and a profession would have also been better enhanced during the course of the of this interaction of this session, giving us a better insight on options to pursue from a wide field of view, something most of our students presently require, the path that we have to take. So we thank you, sir, for spending your time with us, sharing all your invaluable thoughts and experience in your field of study and more. I would also like to use this opportunity to thank our college faculty coordinator, Jikil sir, for taking this initiative to host the Alumni Talk series. To all participants present here, we hope you had an informative session with Dr. Ranjit sir today. I sincerely believe our queries have been attended to up to a large extent. Thank you once again, everybody. Good day.
Just Just a last point, I will just attach the PDF of the diagram which I showed in the chat if somebody have to use it. I'm trying to do that now. Or is it better if I email it to Jikkal? What might be the...
Yes, sir. You can email it to Jigal,
That
sir.
should be
Oh,
fine.
okay. All right. Great. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.